Welcome everyone to our React.js live stream. Let me go up and show you the react.dev, main website. This event is also about React.js, and we're gonna be building a project in this video, in this specific live stream. And the project that we want to build is actually a to-do list. Now, before all of this and before the project creation, we need to know how to basically set up your React app on your computer. Now, there's going to be so many issues that people might find that it's taking too long to create a React app. You could have, problems like npx create React app taking too long, and then there's going to be Stack Overflow pages where you could read, about this issue. And one of the best fixes here is either you could just install, create React app locally on your hard disk, and then you don't have to, keep doing npx all the time. But that would just create one issue is that it will reserve the storage space in your computer memory. The other way you could do it is you could use this yarn, and this one is a little disk defragmentation. But the other possibility is you could use Yarn, and this is another alternative. If we go to the website of yarnpackage.com, PKG, if you could see over here that they have these amazing, CLIs and everything. Now, if I just want to install, the Yarn, I could just simply type in, the global thing over here. So if I go here and just copy this link and show you this page of the yarn, you could just simply type in npm install once you have npm, because I would assume you already have Node.js installed. So you just type in hyphen hyphen global yarn, and that would install yarn for you. So then after that, once you have yarn installed, you could simply type in this in your command prompt. So just say yarn create React app, and then you could just name the app, and that would create a React app for you. And then we just have to say, similar to npx, yarn has yarn create. So let's go and see it for ourselves. So I currently ran the code. So you can see over here that I opened up this folder. First, I opened up this folder, which is right here. And then there's this to-do app, there's this to-do.svg, and there's this style.css that we're going to incorporate. But in the beginning, what we see here is that we created this, I used the same command to install yarn, and then I put it globally. So now I could access it through my command prompt. So a yarn create React app, and then the name of the app is to do app. So if I want to do this, you could see that there is a lot of workload going on, and we're hopefully going to get our package installed. It takes a lot of time. I mean, if I tried it with the general command, if I just type in notepad, so generally you would see that people would go for npx create React app, and then you would just name my app, whatever your app is, right? This takes time. It's taking some time for me, and that's why, to make things faster, I thought that why not try this other way route. So let's see. There's this, items that are being fetching packages, and hopefully once this is completed, we could, create our app. So this is another way, and I've done this with my laptop too personally, and it works. But right now I'm on my computer, and it seems like, it's taking too long, so I tried an alternative. Any questions? If you guys have any questions, you could feel free to leave them in the chats. In the meantime, I could, answer your questions. So let's see. Yeah, it's still going on. So we're gonna be waiting for it to complete. So we could see over here. Hi, I'm learning how to. Thanks for the live stream. Awesome. No problem. Nice to see you here. You could always leave your questions if you wanna, um, I'll keep you updated about React.js. Just let me know. If you have any questions or anything, I'll be happy to answer. So I'm just waiting until this is uploaded, installed, and then we could finally, create this amazing application, a crazy project that will really teach you a lot of things. Okay, so hopefully this is going to be completed. Okay, so it seems like this is 2 out of 4, but hoping for a good result. Anyways, I do have a backup linking dependencies. I hope this doesn't take that long, but yeah. So now the backup that I have is that if, for instance, it doesn't work, I'm gonna actually copy paste my old React project, and I'm just gonna modify that instead. So, okay, look, seems like there's a lot of things going on here. Okay, that's a lot of things. Okay, so if I go over here, you can see that there are some packages that are already there. Like, okay, there's a lot of packages that are already incorporated. And I'm just gonna go back and wait until this is completed. Awesome, perfect. Now we are done and we could finally start our app. Now let's go into the, directory. So it did take some time, to be honest. Um, you can see the time over here done in 450.33 seconds. It took a lot of time, I would say. But hopefully it wouldn't take that much time after, a couple of tries. And it depends on your internet connection speed as well. Okay, so now we can see if we have to open up and actually move into the command prompt. You can see I'm actually currently here in this directory. I have to go inside this folder. This is my React folder project. So I'd go here and do change directory and I would say to do app. And there you go. We're inside of that directory. We could do dir and we could see that there are some of these folders and files. And if I just open it up, you could visualize them here as well. Amazing. Now we want to open it up in some code editor so that we could write some code. Now to do this, it's pretty simple. All we could do is we could go here in the command prompt and let me just type in uh, code dot. If I do this, I could open up this thing in my Visual Studio Code, the same folder. Pretty neat, huh? So now that we opened it up, we would actually like to run our, hello world, whatever it looks like. So you could just say npm, you could actually clear this and just say npm run start to run the app, or you could simply say, um, actually, yeah, npm run start or npm start. You could just simply say any of these two, npm start. And this should start our React application. It just should open it up and it should serve it. Okay, so this is how our React application looks like. There's this logo, there's this text, and then there's the link to, their website. Cool. But I would like to, add in some of these things. I'm just actually removing a lot of my window browsers that are opened up, um, and just keeping it same. Yeah, so I think that's okay. I don't know where is this text file related to, but yeah, that's just there, but okay. Now what we could do is we could move and customize this. And let's just customize this really so that we could have it according to our needs. So we'd go here and you see that there's this public folder and then there's this source folder. These are the two folders that are major concern. Now, where is this logo coming from? You will see that there is this ping folder, this public folder, and it has these pictures as well as this index.html file. Now, normally you'd like to know what the information is, but I'm just keeping it simple and removing these comments. So I'm deleting this one as well, deleting this one as well. And yeah, I think that's okay. Now over here you see that there's this HTML. Here's this div ID root. This is where your React, is being rendered by through with the help of JavaScript. And to see that actually, what we see is in the source folder, there's this app.css, which is all the CSS, and there's this app.js, and then there's this logo.svg. This is actually the logo for that React logo. See that? So that's being incorporated inside of the source folder. But what my major concern is this index.js and the app.js. Now the index.js is actually looking for that root element, what I told you about my remember index.html. Remember I told you that we have this index.html root, right? And this is id root. To the index.js actually finds it using this command. So it says react-dom.create root and document.getElement by id root, and then it encapsulates inside this root. We could render it and we could put in React strict mode and we could say app. So this app is actually a component, and then you can see that this is report web vitals function, and what you can see here is this app component is actually coming from somewhere. Import app from ./app means the same directory app. So what do you mean by same directory? It means the same source folder, but there's an app.js. So we'd go and look at this up. Okay, so now over here, this is their function. You can see that it's adding the CSS. It's also adding that logo that I was talking about, that that spinning logo that you see over here. Now you can see that this is this function app, and this is the return function, which is returning this div. Now this div's name is app, and you can see that the component's name is app, and you're exporting default app. So that's why if we go here in the index.js, you're actually returning this component, which is being rendered here in the root. And that's how you could see this. I hope you understood this. If you have any questions, you could please let me know in the chats, and I'll be happy to address. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna break this out and delete all of this unnecessary things, especially in the app.js, which is our major concern. This is how where all of our visualization will look. So I'm actually going to remove this div. You can see this entire div, and I removed it. Now you would see that the there's a lot of errors here, and you'd say that expect unexpected token. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to just keep it with a simple h1 tag, and you could say hello. Okay. And now this is actually JSX code inside of this. It looks like HTML, but it's actually a combination, a little bit of combination, 95% HTML, but a little bit of JavaScript that we could use with some special syntax. And if I go back here, you could see that this hello text appeared. Okay, it's pretty good. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually use an index.css. I mean, sorry, a style.css for our to-do list app, because that's what we're trying to create. So if we go to the public folder, and this the source folder, actually we need a folder inside of the source folder, and we could click here and say components. Okay, and inside the components folder, we actually need to create another folder, and you could call it to do app or whatever, but you don't actually need to create a folder in here. It's just for organization purposes, but I'm not going to do it. So I'm just going to create a file in here inside of my components folder, and that's going to be my component, and that component's name will actually be called to do. So if I go over here and I add in a file, to do.js. If I do X, this is like the React version, but it also works with JS, so just keep it like that. Now I'm using React um, arrow function component with export. This is now an extension that I'm using, and it allows me to add this. Now it allows me to do this to do, and it's exporting this to do as well. Now this has this div again, and it doesn't have anything right now, but we don't care right now. So we're gonna go and look in the styles.css file as well. And here we have to populate some CSS, our custom CSS. Now I have some CSS, and we're just gonna paste that in. Now this is some CSS, and you don't need to really focus on what's going on here. I assume that you have some sort of understanding of how CSS works. It just allows us to style the website according to our needs, so we can see that we're actually importing Google fonts over here as well. So that's how you do that. And this means all elements and HTML tag, and then all these other tags are being just formatted. Now to apply that format, you could actually import um, the style sheet. So you could do that simply with the following command. You could say dot forward slash styles dot css sty, yeah. So this is now gonna be added, and if I go to, actually right now you're not gonna see anything but nothing. So I'm just gonna call this as my to-do list. I'm just gonna say h1 my to do list. And right now, if I go back here in my browser, it doesn't actually show me, because I'm actually being shown the app.js thing. I'm actually gonna have to remove that and actually import this to-do.js component. Go back to the app.js, and you could go here, and instead of this, remove that. You could actually use a JSX fragment. This allows you to use more than one div. And here you could use the component to do. Okay, to do, and I could just close it with this. Now it auto completes with this one, but you could also do it like this. The moment I do this, I mean, it didn't actually add that, so I'd have to add it myself here. So you would have to import the to do component. So it's import to do from dot forward slash components dot forward slash to do, and that's it. Now you imported the component, and if you go back, you can see now this is my to-do list, and the style has been applied as well. Now you can see that it's a little bit different, and this is basically from the other part. Great. So far, so good. Now that we're actually working, we're gonna first think about the, the app. So we're actually gonna think about, the entire application. We actually need to create a, to-do list. So we have to go back to to-do, and we're not gonna keep that. And there's this div section. So if I go back to the to-do, and you would see that there's this really cool function that we could use. First, we'll use JSX component. So you're going to use this, and over here we're going to use a div. And before that, I'm actually going to have to drink some water. Just and if you have any questions, you can leave them down in the chats. I'm there to answer them. So I'm going to see the chats. To learn React, it doesn't really take that much time. If you really learn consistently, I would say it could take you a month or two. I mean, I think that's a lot. But if you learn it really well, maybe give it appropriate time every single day, I think you could learn it quicker than that. I would say in a month or even less. Depends on how fast you learn. But it's something that is important to know. Try to have your foundation strong first instead of going to React. First, know how to learn. I recommend understanding what HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and know a little bit of JavaScript. Yes, you should know JavaScript before you could go to React. So yeah. Any other questions? ABCD. So now what we're gonna have is, let me just zoom in this. Actually, we're gonna put on div here. So we're gonna say div, um, and we're gonna class name, and the class name here is main div. And inside of the main div, we have another central div. I would say it's called a child div. So divs are not actually things that you could see, just semantic tags that have some meaning. So child div. I don't see that there's some issue with my autocomplete. I don't know why. Or maybe I typed in wrong. So there's this thing, and it should be cut like that. Okay, I think I'm yeah. And there, I think it should add it like that. Okay, so there's this div, and then there's this child div. Amazing. Now we need actually one other thing. In this child div, we have to populate the image of our, to-do list. And I have a really cool image I wanted to show you. And it's in my folder. It's actually this one. It's an SVG file, and I want to use this 2021. It's a little outdated, but I want to use this inside of this. So I could use it using, the figure tag. I would prefer this. So figure, and inside this figure, you could use the image tag. And image allows you to use the source. Now, we'd actually need to create a folder here. So in the public section, you would have another folder. So I'll create a folder and call it images. IMAGES. Okay. And inside the images, you could add in your image. So if I go here, um, and just get this image, so I would say cut and go here, and inside of the source, I would say in the public folder, you would go to the images folder, and inside here, you would just paste it like that. Okay, so you have it there, and if I go back here, I could easily, really easily add in using dot forward slash images. Okay, so this is the images, and inside of that, the name of the image is actually to do dot svg. Okay, and add in some alternative text, say to do logo. Okay, and I guess that is there. Now you could add in a fig caption. So I would say fig, caption. Okay, and inside the caption, you could add in some cool text that you would like to show about your figure. Okay, so I would say add your list here. Now, um, now that is done, right? So we have that, but there's one other thing that we need to address, and that is the items that we encounter. If I go back and show you what actually it looks like, the app. So we go back here. This is how it looks like. So you'd see that there's this image, and then there's add your list here. So now we have to add in the list, populate it here. So what we could do is we simply allow it to be in here, and let's say we could use another div, and it would populate some of the, items, because we need to populate the items. So we could say div class name, and I would say add items. Okay, and inside the div items we could have this input tag. Okay, so in the input tag, so this items will have, the items that are corresponding to the to-do list. In this input tag, you could have in, the regular type of the input is actually text. Okay, the placeholder is the text for, the input field. This is actually add items is where we're gonna use the input field, okay? To be clear with you. If we have a class name, we'd actually need this. And this is form control. Now again, we're using a CSS, customized CSS, and I would recommend checking it out. And we have the value for this as, right now we'll just keep it as null, and on change as null, okay? Um, and if we look into this, would actually have an error in the beginning. So, and one other thing that I would like to show you is that input tag can also be closed like this. One thing that I want to add here is that I want to save this, and I want to show you how it looks like, this input field. If I go here, now you can see that there is this input field where you could add in your text, hello. And I want a button here so that I could add it into my list. Now, one other thing that I want to say is that I actually need Prettier. It's a really good extension. It allows me to format my code. So I'm using this extension. Not sure if it's enabled. I don't know why it's not working. Okay. So I'm going here. Turn on settings sync. I'm gonna have to log in. I don't want to do that. Um, but actually, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna keep it like that. Cancel. Oh man. Can't cancel it. No. Okay, great. Um, so we just had to, turn this prettier on. But it doesn't really matter then. Let's just go back here. Um, and there should be a format option here. If I even right click it, should have format document with format document. Control Alt and F. This is the command. So Shift Alt and F. Okay, 1 minute. Shift Alt and F. So there are multiple formatted for JavaScript. One of them should be configured as default format configure, and I'm going to configure it prettier for that. And now we have it, and this should work for us. Great. Um, Now go here, and you can see that this is the thing that I wanted to show you, the progress. The progress is that now we could add this input field and we could add in our, items. Suppose we have some apples that we need to buy, and then, we could add it. But we need a button for this. Now, the buttons are actually something that we could add using some, extra thing. And the thing that I would recommend here is Font Awesome. So I'd go here. So, and I would recommend, wait, so let's go back mm, to just a second. I'm getting the link for that, and I'm gonna show you here. So we go to fontawesome.com, and it have a lot of cool icons. So like for instance, I want to add, the add button. So we could just say search here, and you could say add, and this should give you a plus. Wait, actually, we need a plus sign to add. So plus, and this is like what we need. But before that, we'd actually need to incorporate the CDN, and for that, I'd recommend going here into this link. Remember, you could just copy this from the address bar and just get the version of 5.15.0. That's actually what I'm gonna use. Um, but I assume others work as well. But I would use this one, and I would just copy this link, and I'll go here into um, the index.html. Here I would go to the head section, and there's this title, so I would go up here and paste it. So now you could see that this CDN is there, and it means that I'm able to use these, cool icons, font awesome icons. Go back here, and there's this plus button, right? So you just click here, and you could just, click on it once, and it allows you to copy this and directly to your, code here. So after, this, you could just paste in this, and this should populate it on the React app. Right now it's not showing because there's actually some name that we need to fix, and it also depends on the versioning. So for the the one that I specifically showed you, that 15 one, um, for that would actually have. If I go back here, I'll show you which version we're talking about. Um, so for this 5.15.0 version, I would go here and add in FA plus. So it's FA FA plus, and then we have add button btn. Okay, and this should show me the button. Let me go back here, and there you go. This plus button is appearing. If I hover on it, it changes the color of it. Pretty nice, and that's what I needed to achieve. Really cool. But now that we have this plus button, what else do you think we need? Well, actually, once we want to add something, we'd like to, so what we would like to do is actually go here into this app, type in something like, let's say, apples, and press the plus, and then it should display here on the bottom. It would create a list for me. Now, for all of this, what we could do is we could add in show items and all that. Okay. Um, so what I'm gonna do is after this div, which is add items, let's go here. Um, and we're gonna say, okay, let me just write a comment here as well. Um, this is the section where all of the items from the list, to-do list, um, will appear. Now, sorry for the bad English. I don't know if this is correct, but I'm actually just going through this. Now, what I need here is actually I need to have a div, and I'm gonna call it class name, and inside the class name would say show items, and that's basically it. For I mean, the moment what you'd see is I would put a let's say a dummy value, and let's say bananas, okay, and I would actually need one other thing. When the banana is added, right? You can see over here. 1 minute. You see, banana is added, but actually I don't see it. I need a section here. So there's this show items, but for each show item, I'd actually need a section for allowing me to show it. So I would say div um, dot class name, and inside here we're gonna add in each item, and in each item we have a key and value. So I generally prefer. Actually, I would have to. I mixed up one thing. I'd have this one on top where there's each item in the list, right? And each item would look like so we'd have show items, and then inside that show items we have this bananas, and after this we have one other thing that we need to address, and that thing is the class name to do button. So we'd have div class name to do button, and inside that would have there. So let me just go here and say class name to do button. Mm. Just a moment, I'm just checking this out. Seems like there's something wrong. So I'm just seeing that there's any fix over here or not. So div class name show items. So there's each item and this closing div. I guess it's this one. I hope this prettier is doing the job for me. Now, um, that is each item, but that for that we actually have the heading, and the heading is over here, which is actually going to be on top right here. That's actually what we were missing. And I think we could format it again. So format document, and it does it really nicely. Alt, Shift, and F. It does it. I would recommend doing it again and again. Inside of this div show items, tag, I would recommend adding the buttons. So if I go back here, if I go here, you'd see that there's this, container being placed. But I would need the plus and the minus thing, the icons here. So just like the other one, we'd use, the tag line. So it's actually just like this. I'll copy it here and one more. Now Alt Shift and F, and this is FF, and the button should appear. So I would go here back. So you can see that there's two plus buttons, but there is some issues with this um, design, which I don't like. So I would go over here. You can see the show items is showing those two items. Um, yeah, and I'll actually not show items, but it's to do button. And I guess now it works. Yeah, so now I think it is a little smaller. And all we need now is just a div closer. I think that's the each item thing. And I would prefer changing it to, the add button or the edit button. So for the edit button, you just have this code. So let me just copy it and paste it here. And for the other one, would copy it and paste it here. Okay. And let me go back here and see. So you can see over here, and I can see this add and delete. So far, there's some inconsistency with the styling. It doesn't seem to be in the middle. But I'll look into this so that there's this to do I button, um, and inside that to do button were these two things, and it's in wrapped around this each item thing. So, and the each item has the heading and all that. Okay, so after that, we need to actually allow the user to, show something instead of having the way, well, not having be, able to do that, but I actually want to show it instead. So I'm just gonna, leave this text for now and not have bananas and see what actually, it looks like. So it's just like that. Um, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go here and I'm gonna use some function that allows me to check my state of that variable. So I'd recommend going on top of this const to do function, and I'd recommend getting a state variable. So to do that, you could just simply have the use state hook in React, and inside here you just put your initial data, and it returns a const array of two elements. Now I'm gonna assign these two things. Now I'll tell you what it is. So the initial data could be null, so it could be null like this, a null string. Now the first one, it will be the input data that we're gonna give our input field, and the second one is set input data. Okay, so this is a function. To use this, you'd have to import use the use state, which is already done here. And now we could use the state, okay, to check all of this. Now, remember that form that we added over here had the value. So I'm gonna have the value set to, so the value will be set to input data, the state, right? And for the on change method, would use the simple way of using an arrow function. Okay, an arrow function, and inside that would use set input data, which is the function that allow you to use the event dot target dot value. This is a really cool method in React, and I would just recommend adding this event here. So set input data event dot target dot value, and this should update your input field. So if I go back here, um, and this should be set in my state. One way to view this is actually um, an extension in React Chrome extension, and I think it's React Developer Tools. So it's this one. So I would recommend adding this extension. Okay, so now it's been added. So you could go here, inspect components. No, I think it's not activated right now. So all right, let's refresh that page. I don't know, where did we go? Okay, so now we go here in the components. So you can see over here, and you can see over here to do app, and it's loading. Okay, now this is the thing that I was talking about. See this hooks? This is our use state. And if we enter a name, let's say Apple, now you can see that's being populated. So that's what I wanted to show you. And this extension allows me to show you that view. Okay. So this is my not view, but actually my state of the population. Now what I want to do is that once I press that button, it should allow me to populate it onto my list of other tasks that I want to complete. So the way that we could do this is I would have you know, I would have to add another state. And I'll tell you the reason why I would have to add another state. And that is actually to store all the items. So for storing all of the items in the list, I would need to create another state, and it's easy to create it using use state. So use state, and this one is basically going to be like this. Um, and or you could just say an empty list like that. Okay, and it actually has const return an array list or a list, and it's a items, which is the list items, and set items like that, and assign to this. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to allow the user to add something inside of the list, right? Now we'd have to go to the add function, which is not created right now, and we're gonna have to create it. So over here we could see that this is the add button. I would have to add in an on-click listener here, and I would say add function. So I would say add item. Okay, this is our function that we defined. We just called, but we need to define it here on top. So I would go here and say actually inside of here, but on top of the render, which is the return. On top of the return, what we do is we'd create a const add item function, and it would have this, th this, and this allows us to do that. So it has this if. I think we don't have one extension, so I don't know. I thought I had it prettier. No, no. The one is React Redux, so it's something like that. Yeah. So it's this one. It is installed, but it doesn't seem activated. No, well, no worries, but I would recommend installing this extension as well. So now here we have add item. Now, if the input data is empty, you'd set an alert to the user that, you know, enter some data and fill out the missing data. Fill out, you know, there's nothing in there. Okay, so there it's done for that. But the other case is when you just want to showcase it, right? So to showcase it, you just have um so let me just have this over here, and just showcasing it, you would just simply say set items, which you're creating that list of items, and I'll use this arrays and spread operator that allows me to have the old items added, okay, while also adding in my item, so my new item. So to do that, I would say the input data, okay, and that should allow me to add that. And again, I would recommend set input data to null once you're, added all that. Now to view that actually, physically, what you'd see normally right now is if I go back here and inspect and I go to the application, not in the application, but in the components, okay. Now here we have another one, and this is the list of objects that I was talking about, the list of items. So if I go and type in, let's say the first item, apple, you will see that it should appear here, but if I press the plus button, it should add it here in the state as well. Amazing. And it removed it from the other one, and it should add it here because it is no longer there because I added the, after the process, it would just make it null. And if I added another one, let's say banana, I would add it. It would add me it inside of this list. And if I say oranges, or orange, and I'll press that, now this list is being added. So this is the way how we're gonna do it. All we gotta do is now visualize it. So would go here in the section where you'd see this thing. So actually right here, this is the section where all the items, yeah. So over here, this section, and what I would do is I would actually write a for loop for this. I would have to, not a for loop, but actually an iteration process. So um, what we could do is I'd actually first wrap it around one more item. So it's right now, this is just a child div. Go here, a child div. I don't know where it's being closed. Okay, being closed after each item. Just a second. You could, at the meantime, just post in your questions or whatever you have. So, nice extension. Thanks for the suggestion. Yeah. Whatever you have, and then just keep me updated with any questions whatsoever. But I'm actually here and I'm understanding where to add this other thing. Now, just on the record, this project is actually not, I'm actually explaining it, but the CSS and all that rights belong to some other YouTuber, and he's also, created this. So I'm here to just explain the process of how to get it done. Okay. And maybe, use my own tweaks as well to make things more simpler. So that's my job here. Um, so what we're doing here is this add items feature, and this has this button like we were doing, and so we have this toggle button. Now what we have to do back here is this thing, which is right here. This is the child div. Now I'm not sure where it is stuck from, but we have this show items div that we gotta populate. So if I go back here, inside of this, what we need is actually a show items. Yeah. So I'm gonna have another div here, class name show items. Okay. And here we have control, and we're gonna have to close it till, I guess, till the, where the each item is. I don't know where that is. There, it's right there. So we're just gonna close it right after that. And I'm using Alt, Shift, and F to make it formatted properly. I view the app over here. So yeah, now it seems a little more, centered. What I need now is actually the other, side of the thing. But before that loop, I already know what we have to do. But one other thing that we need is another div here. And this is going to be, for removing all the items. So I'm just going to have the structure created for me first. So I just added a comment here, remove all button. Okay, it's just going to be that button over here. So it's actually a div. Um, Class name, sorry about that. Class name, I would say show items. Okay. Here we have a button tag. And in the button tag, what we have is the following class name, and that is button effect 04. We have the data dot sm dot link dot text, and that is remove all. And again, remember I'm saying to you that these are predefined classes I already incorporated. If you're interested, I could share you the source code for this, but you'd have to join the Discord server. So just let me know if you're interested for that. If you want the source code, I would provide it. And then, on click, I would implement this functionality later. But okay, so Alt Shift and F. Now this is our button. Um, and inside of this, we have a text, and we have to display that text. So that text is actually called span, and we'll say check list, like that. Nothing else, and it should work. So if I go back to the app, so you could see that there's this cool looking, checklist button. It doesn't do anything right now, but it's gonna be able to remove all the items on the list. Just added some, div styling here. Okay, so now let's add in the thing that is in major concern. Okay, and that is that iteration that we want to do. So after this show items class, we want to iterate. So to do that, we could use the items.map method. And inside of this, we could use the cur element. That's actually the index. You don't need to think of it as something, but it's just an index. You could call it whatever you want. And what I would do is I would paste that in like this. And normally you would add in each item in a separate, container like so yeah, so each item, and this is show items. So we're gonna have this entire thing inside of there like this. Okay, so Alt Shift and F, like that. Okay, so now that we have it there for the cur element name, so it's like cur element dot name, but actually it's not defined right now. So you could just keep it as the name. So actually it's called cur element dot. I guess it's over here. Items, set items. No, actually we can't find it until we actually know how to get this. So one other way that I might add that is actually using another object style. Okay, so the object style that I might use is after the else case. You could see over here, the add method over here. What you would be using is that I would recommend using this object, which is my new data, because we need some ID. So my new input. I think my seat is down or something. Let me see. Yeah, I went down a little. Okay, so this is okay. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so my new input, um, data, and we'll just add it like so. Okay, const my new input data. And for ID section, we'd put in new date function dot get time. This is gonna get the current time dot to string. Okay, and for the name, it's simply input data. What I feel like is that this thing is input data at the moment, but let's just see. So if I go back here, yep. So we have refreshing issue. So let me refresh this. So let me rerun that. So we still have this issue. It says cur element dot. I think we didn't save it or anything. Cur element. Yeah, we didn't save it. Wow. So where is that cur element? Yeah, input data. So let me see. Okay, that error's gone. Apple add. Okay, it's not being displayed. So it seems like maybe it's like this, if I'm not wrong. And now if I go back here and say Apple and then add, okay, it's still not being displayed. So if I go back here in the components tab, and you can see that there's two apples already there, but it's not being displayed. Or let's say any other fruits, tangerines, tangerines. Okay, so they actually need to display them, and we have them in our state, but I refresh them and they're all gonna be gone. Now, how do I get this? Yeah. So one way I think which we could apply is, using that object, that differentiation object, and using it in the add function. So what I was saying is that if I scroll back up and go here in the object, suppose it's to do. Yeah, so over here, this is the object that we created, right? So we're gonna put it inside this input data. Um, so we're just gonna say my new input data, okay? I think we're fine with that. Um, and what we should do here is in the show item section, we're, iterating it through the same thing. So we take her element dot name. What did I have it over there? One minute. Back here. Save. So where's that for iteration thing? Okay, so map cur element. So we'd have here is cur element dot name. Um, and I would recommend adding a key here as well. So div class show items, and in the each item thing, each item you'd have a key, and you could just set it as cur element dot id. So say milk, and that is in an object state. You could see over here, and let's say orange, and that should be inside of this object as well. Okay, great. So you can see that this is a list of objects and it's like that, but they're somehow not displaying. Now I'm fixing the code to see how I could get this show settings, show items, working. So if I go back here, somehow it just disappeared after some updates that I've done. Okay, so there's one issue that I found here that we have to add it like this. Other than that, I think that is okay. Handy. It's just being populated. You can see over here. Why did that disappear? Of course, there are so many functions that are not defined, and those will be screaming out over here. Hmm. Okay, nice. So you can see now this is added, and let's say oranges, and if I add this, and let's say watermelon, and if I add that, it's being added to the list. Now what we need is the functionality of deleting and editing. Now if you'd like to see more about this, then let me know. I might create another live stream. Just write some thing in the comments and give me an info about this session if you thought this was useful, and I'll add in some other detail in future. So what we had is a div class name, and inside of this we had this method which was cur element and items.map, and basically it returns. I think I forgot this return function or something, but it was div class name each item key, and I think that is the most possible, maybe just reason for that. But anyways, let me know what you thought about this. It's so far like that. I hope you like this. If you want an extension to this, to-do list app, let me know, and I'll create an updated version for, deleting functionality, editing functionality, and removing all items from this list, and also saving it because if I refresh this page, all of the items are gone. So we could save them in a local storage as well. If you go to, inspect and you go to the applications tab here, so over here, you would see that there's this storage, local storage, and if you go here, there's these key and value pairs. So you just have to populate something, and this will allow you to, have the same data across multiple instances. And even if you refresh it, your content will still be saved. So thank you. Hope you like this live stream, and just let me know if you want the updated live stream. And see you soon. Thank you. Peace out. Thank you, ABCD. Thanks for sticking around till the end. I appreciate it.